If the house has grown quieter lately, if holidays come and go without a knock at the door, or if the phone rarely rings anymore, you might find yourself wondering what changed, why the distance, why the silence, and most of all, what it says about you. There are moments when that silence feels heavier than words. When familiar faces disappear, it can stir up pain that's hard to name. It's not something many talk about openly, but the truth is, it happens far more than most people realize. In fact, recent research from the National Institute on Aging shows that more than 4 in 10 older adults experience some level of isolation. That quiet ache of being forgotten isn't unusual. It's part of a larger, often hidden story in many lives. Still, it cuts deep. Sometimes it brings up memories of better days. Sometimes it feels like rejection, but you are not defined by who shows up or who doesn't. What you hold inside, how you carry yourself through this quiet season, matters even more. Betty, a 74-year-old woman from Indiana, went 6 months without a single word from her son. Not a text, not a call. She shared how deeply it hurt, how the silence felt personal, but she made a powerful choice. "It broke my heart," she said, "but I refused to let it break my spirit." She started writing poems, tending to her backyard flowers, and slowly rebuilding her days around small joys that belonged to her, not to anyone else's attention or approval. Stories like Betty's show something important. There is strength in how we respond when others pull away. That's what this video offers. Gentle, steady ways to center yourself again. Not flashy solutions, not overnight fixes, just quiet, steady steps that can help you feel grounded and emotionally full again. If any of this speaks to you, if you've ever felt that gap grow between you and those you love, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe for more uplifting content, and share your experience in the comments. Someone else reading might feel seen for the first time today because of what you share. Let's begin with something small, something calming, something that shifts the way the day begins. 1. Start the day for you, not for others. There's something sacred about how a day begins. The first few minutes after waking, when the world is still quiet and the light hasn't quite settled in, can shape how we feel for hours to come. But for many older adults, that moment is often filled with waiting. Waiting to hear the phone ring. Waiting to see if someone will drop by. Waiting for a reminder that they're remembered. The kind of waiting can slowly chip away at a person's sense of peace. It turns the morning into a question mark rather than a fresh start. But that time, those first gentle minutes, can belong entirely to you. No one else gets to decide how you greet the day. Frank, a 76-year-old from Florida, used to wake up and sit by the phone. "I'd stare at it like it owed me something," he said. For years, mornings felt like disappointments before they even began. But one day, he decided to change one thing. He poured himself a fresh cup of coffee and brought it out to the porch. He started reading the newspaper, not to pass time, but to reconnect with the world in a way that felt steady and simple. "It's my time," he says now. "No one can take that away from me." You don't have to move mountains to take mornings back. Start with small, quiet rituals that anchor your spirit. Maybe it's 5 minutes of stretching while soft music plays in the background. Maybe it's sitting by a window, eyes closed, simply noticing your breath. The Mayo Clinic has long supported mindful morning routines as a way to ease stress and elevate mood. When practiced consistently, they can gently shift your mental state from reactive to grounded, from anxious to calm. For those who find comfort in prayer, early morning can become a time of spiritual reflection, a private, nourishing connection between yourself and something larger. If prayer isn't part of your day, gratitude can be. One simple act, saying one thing you're thankful for out loud, can actually begin to rewire your brain toward more positive thinking. That's not just poetic, it's science. Research into neuroplasticity shows that spoken gratitude can reduce levels of stress hormones and increase dopamine, a neurotransmitter linked to feelings of joy. You might find clarity in journaling. A few lines, even a scattered thought or memory, can release emotional pressure. Some people like to write about what they hope the day will bring. Others just jot down something they noticed, how the morning light hit the trees or the sound of birds returning after a rain. And don't underestimate the quiet power of a simple, nourishing breakfast. Preparing food just for yourself isn't indulgent. It's a declaration that you matter. Whether it's eggs and toast, oatmeal and berries, or a warm cup of tea, the act of feeding yourself with care is an act of emotional resilience. Reading, especially something inspiring or comforting, can also reshape how the mind settles into the day. Poetry, devotionals, or even a favorite novel. Just 10 minutes with words that lift you up can shift the whole emotional tone of the morning. These aren't just tasks. They're signals to your body and brain that today has meaning, whether or not anyone else participates in it. You are showing up for yourself. That's the most important visit of all. Frank's morning ritual didn't change the behavior of his children, but it changed the way he carried himself. He no longer waited to feel acknowledged. He began the day with something he chose, something that belonged only to him. And when we make even small emotional space for ourselves, something remarkable happens. We start noticing what else life might be offering. We start seeing the possibilities for connection, for beauty, for peace that don't rely on anyone else's presence or permission. 2. Build small, new social touch points. Human connection doesn't always arrive in grand gestures or deep conversations. Sometimes it's a shared nod with someone at the bakery, a quick chat with a neighbor walking their dog, or the familiar smile from the librarian who notices when you check out your favorite author again. These small, repeated encounters can quietly stitch together a sense of belonging. For those who've experienced distance from family, the idea of building new connections can feel intimidating, like it means replacing what was lost. But this isn't about filling a gap with something identical. It's about creating fresh, meaningful interactions that stand on their own. Dolores, 78, from California, never saw herself as the social type. After her daughter moved across the country and visits became rare, she started attending a local garden club just to pass time. I figured, what's the worst that could happen? I'd learn about compost, she joked. But over time, something surprising happened. As the seasons changed, so did her connections. She met people who shared not only her love for flowers, but her outlook on life. One woman in particular became her closest friend. I never expected it, Dolores said, but I'm grateful every day that I showed up. The key is consistency, not intensity. Visiting the same cafe every Tuesday morning, attending the small book circle at the library, going for walks at the same time each day, where other regulars begin to recognize you. These small habits invite familiarity without pressure. A weekly church coffee gathering or senior center event might feel like a simple activity, but it's the rhythm of showing up that matters. People tend to connect when they see one another again and again. No grand introduction required. Just presence. Even walking your neighborhood regularly can lead to meaningful exchanges. A quick wave to someone tending their garden. A smile toward a dog owner whose pup always runs up to greet you. These moments might seem small, but they tell you and others you're part of something. The Harvard study of adult development, one of the longest and most respected research projects on well-being, found that the strongest predictor of long-term happiness wasn't wealth or health, it was connection. Not necessarily deep friendships, but consistent, warm ties to others, even casual ones. Some people feel drawn to join interest-based groups, birdwatching, painting, or even local volunteer efforts like helping organize a food pantry. These communities don't ask you to share your life story. They offer a shared activity and a slow-growing sense of camaraderie. And it's perfectly okay if the first group or meeting doesn't feel right. That doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It just means you're still searching for your people, and that search is part of the process. Loneliness often tells us we're disconnected from love, but connection comes in many forms. When we expand our circle, even just a little, we give life a chance to surprise us. If you found new connections later in life, whether in a club, a coffee shop, or just through a neighbor who stops to chat, share your story in the comments. You never know who might find encouragement in your words. 3. Rewrite the story in your head. Silence has a way of writing its own story, especially when we don't hear from the people we love. Without answers, our minds often fill in the blanks, and those thoughts can turn heavy. They don't care about me. I must have done something wrong. These quiet conclusions creep in, and over time, they can shape how we feel about ourselves. But just because we think something doesn't make it true. Sometimes reframing our inner dialogue is the most powerful step we can take. It doesn't require anyone else to change. It only asks that we look at the story in our head and gently choose a new one. Walter, 79, from Arizona, went through this after years of feeling overlooked by his daughter. Holidays passed without a call. Birthdays came and went. One day he sat down and wrote her a letter, not to mail, but to say what he'd been carrying. "I poured it out," he said. "I told her I missed her, that I felt forgotten, and that I wished things were different. The pain didn't vanish, but I stopped carrying it on my chest." That act helped Walter reclaim his side of the story. He wasn't just someone waiting, he was someone feeling deeply and expressing it in a healthy way. One simple mindset shift can look like this: changing "they've abandoned me" to "they're caught up in their own world right now, but I still matter." You're not denying your pain. You're reminding yourself that it doesn't define your value. Try saying kind things out loud to yourself each morning, even one or two affirming sentences. "I am worthy of love. My joy still counts. I am more than someone's absence," can slowly rewire the emotional track your thoughts run on. Johns Hopkins psychiatry experts have studied how this kind of thought reframing supports emotional resilience, especially in older adults. When we speak to ourselves the way we'd speak to a beloved friend, our mind begins to heal in small but meaningful ways. If the ache is heavy, write. It doesn't have to be elegant or organized. Just let the words come: anger, sorrow, longing, hope. Whether it's to your child, a sibling, or someone else who's grown distant, let your heart speak without interruption. Then fold it up, put it away, or even tear it up. The release is in the writing. You are not weak for missing someone, but you are powerful when you choose not to let their silence write your worth. 4. Move your body with intention. Some heartaches settle in the body before we even notice them in the mind. Shoulders grow heavy, breath feels tight. Energy fades, not just from age, but from the weight of waiting for a visit, a call, a little sign that someone out there remembers. That's why movement matters. Not as punishment, not for the sake of keeping busy, but as a gentle, loving act of reclaiming your own rhythm. Gloria, 71, from Colorado, found herself spiraling into a quiet sadness every evening. The sun would set, and she'd feel a familiar ache, nostalgia, longing, loneliness. One night, she put on her favorite old songs and went for a walk, just a few blocks. She did it again the next night, and the next. "It's become my peaceful place," she said, "and I don't miss anyone in that moment. I'm just there, moving, breathing, feeling alive." The National Institute on Aging has long confirmed what Gloria discovered. Even light physical activity can lift your mood, ease anxiety, and remind you of your strength. You don't need to break a sweat to feel a shift. Chair yoga is a beautiful starting point. Slow stretches that open the spine, lift the arms, and reconnect you with your breath. If you have a favorite window or a quiet room, stretch there. Let the morning sun be part of your practice. Or consider Tai Chi, a series of graceful movements often called meditation in motion. Its rhythm is calming, and it gently anchors you in your body. Even slow dancing in the living room counts. Music you grew up with, a favorite tune that stirs the soul. Let it play and move however you feel. There are no rules. You are not performing. You are reconnecting with yourself, your energy, your presence in the world. Movement can also shift emotions that words can't. When grief sits too deep, when memories feel too sharp, walking or stretching can soften them. Not erase them, but make space for something lighter alongside them. And with each movement, something small but important happens. You start to remember that your body still carries life. Your feet still take you places. Your arms still reach. Your breath still flows. You don't have to wait for someone else to move you. Start from where you are, exactly as you are. 5. Give love without needing it back. Sometimes when we stop receiving the affection we once knew, whether through visits, letters, or simple acts of attention, it can feel like love has dried up, disappeared, or moved on without us. But love doesn't need an invitation to show up. It doesn't even need to come from someone else. It can start with you. Giving, even in small ways, has a way of softening the sharp edges of loneliness. Not because someone thanked you, not because it was seen or praised, but because love, in its truest form, nourishes both the giver and the receiver, no matter how quiet the exchange. Herbert, 80, from Maine, found a simple ritual that gave him purpose. Every week he wrote kind notes, little things like, "You're doing better than you think," or "Someone out there is grateful for you." Then during his weekly trip to the grocery store, he'd leave them tucked between cereal boxes or under a bunch of bananas. "It made me feel love," he said, "just knowing someone might smile because of me." That's the power of unreturned love. It multiplies anyway. You might start by offering a compliment to someone in line with you at the pharmacy, feed the birds outside your window, bring a flower to the receptionist at your doctor's office. You can even write anonymous notes like Herbert, no signature, no expectation. Just a message that brightens a moment. Research from the Cleveland Clinic highlights that small acts of kindness reduce loneliness, improve emotional stability, and deepen life satisfaction in older adults. The brain responds to giving with a surge of feel-good chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. But even beyond the science, it restores something more essential: your place in the fabric of the world. Love doesn't have to come from the people you raised or the friends you miss. It can come through you, wherever you choose to shine it. Even if it's not returned, it's not wasted. And perhaps that's what strength looks like. Not waiting to be filled, but choosing to overflow. You've just learned 5 ways to quietly reclaim your peace. Let's wrap up with one final message for your heart. There's a special kind of strength in those who continue to hope, even when the phone stays silent. In those who choose joy on ordinary days. In those who make their morning coffee, take a deep breath, and decide once again to be kind to themselves. If the visits stopped, if the messages slowed to nothing, if it feels like the world turned and forgot to bring you with it, please remember this. Their silence does not reflect your worth. You are still needed, still bright, still here. There's something extraordinary about the way your spirit keeps going. You may not hear it from the people you thought would say it, but that doesn't make it any less true. You are not invisible. Your life is still unfolding. Quiet joy is still joy, still love, still life. Whether it's found in the way sunlight hits your favorite chair, or in the simple warmth of feeding birds at the window, or in the comfort of a familiar routine, you are still creating moments that matter. You don't have to be surrounded by applause to be radiant. You don't need to be remembered by everyone to still matter deeply. Let this truth settle in your heart. You're not forgotten, you are growing. If today's message met you where you are, please share your story in the comments. Let others know they're not the only ones feeling this way. Like this video, subscribe for more encouragement, and share it with someone who might be hurting quietly. There's more light ahead, and you deserve every bit of it.